Okay, so we're going to start off our unit on volume by talking about area, because knowing the area of flat figures like this is going to help us with volume, with our volume formulas eventually. So today we're just going to talk about area. We have all the basic area formulas already written for you. This one might be unfamiliar as with this one for a parallelogram and a trapezoid, but the other ones hopefully are a little bit more familiar, so I'm just going to jump straight into just doing examples. Okay? All right, find the area of each plane figure below. So each figure. This one is a square, so the area of a square is side square. You could just use length times width. It accomplishes the same exact thing. That's going to be 8.5 squared, which is 8.5 times 8.5. And it's going to result in 72.25, but just like we've always done, we're just going to round to one decimal place. So what is that? 72.3. Good. And technically with area, we label it units squared. However, I'm personally not going to be strict on that. You guys know. Any questions on finding the area of a square? Okay, we're starting off easy, right? Okay, let's do a triangle. All right. The area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. With the height, look for the 90-degree angle. When you see the 90-degree angle, what it's attached to is almost always the height. And what I like to do, folks, is I like to convert this fraction into a decimal. Do you guys know what the decimal of 1/2 is? 0.5, yeah. So 1/2 is 0.5 base of the triangle times the height of the triangle. 21 point, I'm going to fit that in there. There we go. 1/2 base times height. It honestly doesn't really matter if you mix these up by accident. It doesn't make a difference. But height is always attached to a 90-degree angle. So you're just going to type that into your calculator. This times this times this. Like so. 0.5 times 15 times 21.3. That way you don't have to worry about doing any dividing. You just multiply straight through. So what do we round this to? 159.8. Good. And then because it's area, that's how we label it. Meters squared. It's not something we do math with. It's just a label. All right. This one right here is a parallelogram. The area formula is going to be area is equal to base times height. The base will always be on the outside, and the height is going to be the distance between the two bases, and you'll see a 90-degree angle. So the base is 12.9. The height is 7.1. You just multiply those two and you're done. So again, you're looking for the 90-degree angle to find the base and height relationship. So these two are perpendicular, so that's one of them's base and one of them's height. Okay, how does this round? 91.6. Good. Inches squared. Okay, go ahead and do number 4 on your own. Because we just finished the circles units. if I can just interrupt you real quick. R is 13, so that's what you're plugging in. So if you plugged in 26, pause, erase, go back, fix it, please. And then your calculator can do this directly, right? Pi 13 squared. So it can look just like this in your calculator. And that'll be 530.9. Okay, and we're just putting the units because it's notes. I just want to be nice and thorough, but you don't have to. You could just have the answer. All right. A trapezoid. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here to dissect this shape. So the formula for area is, I'm going to leave some room up here because I'm going to make some notes up here, okay? Is 1/2 times the height times, in parentheses, the sum of base 1 and base 2. So B1 plus B2. This is just a label. You're not doing actual math or calculations with these subscripts. They're just a label, first base, second base. So here's a couple things to keep in mind. Okay, same thing. We're looking for the right angle. In this case, here it is. Who is 90 degrees to the two sides? It's 16. So this one's going to be the height. Now, for B1 and B2, if you're wondering, well, how do I know if these aren't the bases or these? These two bases will always be parallel from one another. And they're both going to be 90 degrees from the height. So this 16 is going straight down, making a 90-degree angle here and here. So base 1, base 2, or the other way, base 1, base 2. You're just going to add 19 and 27 together inside the parentheses. So all together, here's what it looks like. 1/2, I'm just going to convert that to 0.5. My height is 16. And my B1, B2, let me just go ahead and put that in that different color. 19 plus 27. So this is going to be in your calculator, 0.5 times 16 times 46. You're going to want to add this up before you type all of them away. 0.5 times 16 times 46. You're going to get, did you guys get 368? Yeah. All right. Okay, go ahead and do number 6. Find the area of a rectangle. Length times width. It does not matter which one you assign as length or width. However, I like to always do the long one as length and the shorter one as width, personally. But it's up to you. And when you round it to 1 decimal place, you should get 38.9. All right. Okay, any questions on this first page? All right, we're going to see some atypical scenarios here. Just a sec. Okay. Sometimes, bless you, in a shape, the height might not be inside the actual shape. So this right here is going to be the height. And who's the base? Whoever it is 90 degrees from. So this one is going to be the B. This is the H, this is the B, and our formula is, for a triangle, 1/2 base times height. So therefore, 0.5 times 29.5 times 14. So always look for that 90-degree angle. Whoever's perpendicular, those are the base and the height together. Okay, if you plug that in, you should get 206.5 inches squared. All right. This one's a parallelogram. Our area formula is base times height. Again, we're looking for the 90-degree angle, so this is not going to be anything because 90 degrees with 11.8, even though they don't make contact, 11.8 and this 16.1, if extended out, if they create a 90-degree angle. So this one's your base, this one's your height. If you swap the base and the height, it honestly, mathematically, does not make a difference. You should still get the same answer. But your height connects your bases at a 90-degree angle. And you should get, ooh, how does this round, everybody? 190.0, good, 190.0 meters squared. Okay, all right. You guys, what's number 9 called? What's this shape called again? Yeah. Okay, so here's what I like to do. A circle is pi r squared, right? So I'm just going to do pi r squared. Pi 17 squared. And then when I do pi 17 squared, you can go ahead at the very end, divide by 2. Because we're only looking at half a circle, so I'm just going to cut it in half. So I'm essentially doing this. So this is just a regular circle, but here, now we're circle. Okay, you know what I mean to write. I know, it looks weird, but. And then if you press enter, you should get 453.96. So that means 454.0. Okay, thank you. All right. Trapezoid, trapezoid. Here we go. Area is going to equal 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. Remember, the height makes a 90-degree angle with its bases. So that one right there is our height. Here's a key thing here. Just because it's called height doesn't mean that it's always going to look up and down. That's why you're looking for the 90-degree angles. Who connects the bases? So this is a base, this is a base. At a 90-degree angle, the 5 does. So that's the relationship between bases and its height, 90 degrees. Okay, so we're just going to plug it in. So 0.5, I'm converting that to decimal, times 5, and my two bases are 7 and 13. So essentially we're looking at 0.5 times 5 times 20, which is 50 millimeters squared. Or just 50 is fine. All right. We're almost done. The last two, we're going to have to work for it a little bit. Our area formula is 1/2 base times height. Base and height have a relationship of 90 degrees. Here's one value, and we are missing the other one. Hey, what kind of triangle is this? It's a right triangle. So to find our missing height, we can do leg squared plus leg squared is equal to hypotenuse squared. And I'm not going to go through the different steps by now, hopefully. This is a very quick and easy skill. You're going to get 16.8 as your height. There's your base, there's your height, because they are 90 degrees from one another. And you're going to let your calculator do the rest of the work. And we get the exact amount of 58.8, no rounding done or needed. There you go. Okay. Last one. Shape is a little bit bigger. All right, let's see here. So when you have it, this is a trapezoid, by the way. Trapezoid. So we're going to use that formula 1/2 times height base 1 base 2. So this one, we are missing the height. The bases will always be parallel from one another, so we're missing this value right here. This one. So what kind of shape did I just make here? Over here on the side. I made a right triangle, right? Okay. So we have to do a little bit of detective work here. So if this is 7, that means this is 7. This whole thing is 19. So let's remove 7 from 19. I have 12 left. If I want to distribute that 12 between here and here, I'm just going to divide it by 2. So 6 and 6. So I transferred that 7 over, figured this out, because why did you do that, Miss Chung? Because just like number 11, I'm going to do this again. Right triangle to find our height. So here we go. Let's just do it in green again. Leg squared plus leg squared is equal to hypotenuse squared. And fast forward, h is going to be 8. So the height is 8. So in this trapezoid formula for area, we have area is 1/2 times the height times the sum of the two bases. So here's height. Here are our two bases, 19 and 7. So we're just going to plug it into our formula. Oh, and by the way, I didn't mention it before. You are not expected to memorize the formulas. We will provide the formulas for you. So if you're thinking, well, this is pretty easy, that's good, because it will get a little bit more complicated as we go. So 0.5 times 8 times 26. And then type that into your calculator and you should get 104 centimeters squared. There you go. That's it. And we are done.